Alright guys, you asked for it, I'm checking it out. This is the most requested video on the server, and it is SCP-682, The Inevitable End of All But Me. Now, 682 is an absolute beast of an SCP. Unkillable reptile, it's stored in acid, and it is extremely hard to stop once it gets out. And it literally hates everyone. Everyone. Except probably 999. In fact, it was offended by what 999 did to it, while at the same time being very, very happy. And it was okay with the AI, but they won't let it talk to the AI anymore because they both have similar thought processes. Alright, so this was done by SCP Illustrated. You guys know my opinion on SCP Illustrated. I think he's one of the best presenters for SCP knowledge. But this looks more, again, like something that he does more of the stories, and I really like the stories that he does. He gives you the audio and the visual. It's a feast what he does. It really is great. So, if you have never seen SCP Illustrated, well, you're in for a treat. If you have, let's have some fun, guys. Here we go. The Inevitable End of All But Me. I've even set the mood lighting.
Good day everyone and welcome back to SCP Illustrated for the first video of 2020, and it's a 682 video. But it's not a versus video this time. This is a custom tale written by Dr. Sumerian and myself, though mostly Sumerian, I just pitched the idea. So in this video we see 682 as the universe slowly begins to die all around him. It's not dying from an XK event, it's just time. After trillions and trillions of years, even the universe will begin to grow old, and 682 has a front seat for all of it. There's no content warning needed for this one, except you might feel some sympathy for 682 by the end. But apart from that,
I can only really, even though it hates everything like that, I can only imagine watching everything going away.
Let's begin. The following data release has been authorized by the following council members and administration staff.
Okay, hold on a second. If a being that wanted nothing but the end of everything, a literal integration existence, was suddenly confronted with the end of everything, what would they become? Seeing as they are part of everything, then they would end too, and so their desire would be their undoing. However, what if the being lived past the end of everything? With everything gone, what would they want? What would it exist for once its desires and purpose have been fulfilled? With nothing left, then surely they could not want for anything, and anything they did want would be unobtainable because of this state of nothing. If an immortal wanted death, then by definition it would be unobtainable. Therefore, their want for the end of everything has resulted in them realizing that really they were looking for an end to themselves. That's where I was going until this popped up. I wanted to save it to the end. He said, this is a result of watching some Alan Watts videos and then thinking about SCP-682. I love thinking about this kind of stuff, but still, that's just because I'm a theory crafter for 40k. That's why my mistakes the Emperor scripts take a while, because I'm theory crafting for days sometimes, just sitting there drinking. Like, I'll be sitting over there working, thinking, and all of a sudden a thought will pop in my head. I'll jot it down, and then I'll be on it. He said he could be wrong, but it was an intriguing train of thought, so he thought he would keep it in. Yeah, it's pretty good. I probably should have just read it. I still suck at this, guys. You gotta realize.
Humans were more powerful than he'd been willing to give them credit for. They shot him, burned him, electrocuted him, and finally threw him in a box. If humans could handle fighting each other, they could certainly handle fighting him. They solved world hunger, brought about world peace, cured every disease, filled every need. But they grew bored with their crystalline cities they'd built for themselves. The end of all things crept quietly along after them, unnoticed. As soon as they stopped fighting, mankind was no more. He still hated them, of course, but the ease at which they went almost astonished him. Suddenly no one cared enough. Suddenly almost no children were born. A few metal tubes threw themselves violently off the planet, and then, quite suddenly, humanity died altogether. He escaped not long after. After the end, though, the damage they'd done to the world crashed into reality and the world died too. Plants withered away, then anything that ate plants, and then everything else. In a few thousand years, the carrion eaters died off and he was truly alone. At first, it was a welcome change. He'd learned the hard way that eternity was only really worth it when things changed. And without any other life around, nothing really changed on a day-to-day scale. He'd wake up, look out over the dead earth, oceans, or at a nearly unchanging sky, and then go back to sleep. For endless eons he waited. He charted the stars by drawing in the dead earth and feel a pang of joy whenever one of them died. But they were always being replaced. Over and over he'd see one die and another be born. But humans had done the same thing for a long time as well. The sun had gotten larger and larger in the sky over time, then it ballooned to fill the entire daytime sky. The oceans turned to deserts and the deserts turned to molten glass. The whole surface of the earth glowed a deep orange. He suffered through the worst of it for a few million years, perching on the few rocks sturdy enough to stand up to the heat. He screamed when he could, but no one was around to hear him. Then the sun shrank into a tiny white point in the sky, larger than the brightest stars, but only just. The dead earth slowly cooled, though there was no atmosphere left to breathe. He was alone with his own thoughts, and again, he began to chart the stars.
Oh my god.
At first, it continued on as before. The charts began to cover more and more of the earth. With nothing but time, he drew his constellations and calculations and came to a conclusion. The stars were dying too. Once they'd been replaced as quickly as they died, but now,
This is
maybe
beautiful.
2 died
visually.
before another was born. Later still 3, then 4. The number kept climbing until there was only a few dozen stars left in the sky. The only record that the sky had once been filled with light was etched on continent-spanning star charts across the surface of the dead earth. He realized, of course, that his fate was inevitable. Even after all the stars had gone, he would still be here. He would be the only thing left in an infinite darkness that would continue for eternity. He rested his head on the rock and gazed at a star, wondering for how much longer it would burn before fizzling out. Then one day, a trillion years after the last star had blinked out, 682 squinted at the dark night sky. A new star had formed. This one was brighter than anything he'd ever seen before. It moved strangely and quickly. Eventually it darkened and disappeared. A few years on, another star joined it and darkened again, and then another. For millennia, they grew a colony above him, larger and larger still until it hung over him, like a tantalizing treat, just out of reach. Then they began to land on his world. He felt the rage return. His world, his home. But they deliberately avoided his drawings, chose the few blank spaces between the constellations and calculations to dig out the earth. Then they placed boxes gingerly into the ground, covered them, and drew new markings. In a few months they returned, this time with another box. He approached their landing party this time, staying as hidden as he could. He looked, and they were humans. He listened to the ground for the vibrations of their speech, but the language was nothing he'd ever heard before. Over and over, year after year they came, and year after year he would go and listen. Eventually, he understood their language. Today he'd woken up to another shooting star again coming to his home. He made his way to the landing site and waited. The men and women followed the same pattern as always. He suspected they knew he was there, but they'd made no moves against him. Maybe one day he'd kill them, destroy their ship, or take it to the stars and end them once and for all. But for all his petty fantasy, he knew that he would be alone soon enough. Time would destroy whatever he didn't, and in the end, he'd just be bored sooner. So he let them have their ceremony. The box was laid into a freshly dug hole, and a man in a slightly shinier suit stood and spoke to half a dozen other figures.
Malnos Tharash, the spawn of 2 Greldniks, would have had more grace and kindness than you. You hurt everyone with your words or hands or tools. It did not matter to you. And for this, we are sorry. Though we deserved better from you, so too did you deserve better from us. Instead, you died hungry and alone in the between spaces. You scarcely had a bed and no quarters to call your own. I commit now your soul to the stars, the home of your ancestors. I commit now your body to the earth, the home of their ancestors. I hope you find the peace you deserved in life, somehow. May the Starkeeper bless your passing. May the Starkeeper bless your ancestors. And may the Starkeeper bless us all.
He's the Starkeeper.
The humans covered the hole with dirt slowly, and then shuffled into their ship. SCP-682, the Starkeeper, and the last witness to a dying universe, watched them disappear into the black eternity. He walked over to the grave, pawed at the freshly dug ground, spun in place atop it, and took a nap. And that is how SCP-682 will spend the rest of his existence. Cold, alone, and unable to escape the eternal darkness that will befall the universe eventually. It's all well and good being immortal until even the universe dies of old age. So yeah, he may win every fight now, but eventually creation will have the last laugh. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe if you did. Next time will be SCP-1861. Be sure to follow all the
Guys, the most horrible thing that is the most horrible fate that you can possibly have is to get everything that you want. That is as true now as it ever has been. Because getting everything that you want might sound incredible. It might sound amazing. But if there's nothing past that for you, then all that's left is decline and decay. That's all that's left past that. And that's a horrible sensation. There's nothing worse than stagnation. Any fan of 40k will tell you that. This 682 got everything he ever wanted. And the sad part about it is he doesn't know that he's, like, even though I'm listening to that, there were certain lines in that story. SCP-682 is now miserable, but he just doesn't know how to actually understand his own misery because he hasn't experienced before. All he's had is hate. But now, he's actually looking forward to the brief amounts of time he's around other things. And if it took trillions upon trillions of years, I mean, the man had the thing has some definite issues that, you know, a lot of therapy ain't gonna cure, but eventually it's going to realize just how sad and alone it is. It might take until atoms come apart, but it will. This was actually sad in a way I didn't really expect it to be. I did expect some feels from this, but I didn't expect, it to kind of like sink in the way it has with me. One excellent writing, excellent visuals. As again, anytime it's SCP Illustrated, you know it's going to be good. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Jump over to SCP Illustrated. If you have not watched him, subscribe to him. You will enjoy what you see. I'm going to be putting all of his links in the description down below, right next to mine. And check out the artwork that Valka's done. You might like some for yourself. Aside from all that, if you'd like to support the channel, there's a Patreon, or you can just hit subscribe and hit the like button. Both things help me out immensely, and I really do appreciate it. I hope everybody had a good Merry Christmas yesterday, and I hope you guys will join me next time. Catch you guys later. Click the button, Boomer.